We had Sarah's dad, Lance, on the show several weeks ago, who is a well-seasoned financial advisor. Sarah is just beginning her career in a field that has been historically dominated by men, and she's doing well. As we'll find out, Sarah brings a unique view of how she approaches the world. She keeps her dad's simple message of spending less than you make, having an emergency fund, and no bad debt. But she also adds a couple of her own insights along the way. Join us as we hear how Sarah made the jump to being a financial advisor and what it means to her now.
I am very much in my 20s because I'm still having those existential loops of just like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? But
so you get out of school, then you turn around and say, work for a year and a half, then you go to Aruba and do your yoga, intense yoga, and then you're just going, what do I do now?
What do I do now? So I do what I do, and I was like, I'm just going to interview everyone that I know that I think is smart and that I would want to be like. And I was looking at jobs as a therapist or as a counselor or construction project management so I could have my clipboard back and direct all these people.
Get back to work.
And I was working for my one of my grandfather. He's like my grandfather by choice. My grandparents have best friends that never had kids, and their family lived far away, so they kind of took us in. And so
you would have chosen them.
Oh my gosh, awesome. No, but my grandparents are really awesome too. But
okay, got it.
I'll just take the third.
Okay.
But I worked for his construction company while I was searching. I was just doing marketing and stuff that millennials know how to do, and doing their
social media stuff, and why is that important?
Why is it important? What's
why do you
SEO?
have to put a book on a face? I don't quite get it.
Exactly.
What's a tweet?
What's a GIF? So I was doing that while I was interviewing all of these people, and I really liked construction project management. I like the running around, spinning multiple plates at one time, and putting out fires and all that. But when contractors didn't show up on time and my whole plan got derailed for something that wasn't my fault.
You probably didn't like that.
I lost it. I was like, I can't do this. So this is
I know people like that.
I was going to say that
for me. And my dad was like, just info interview me. Like, just give me a shot. I was like, I worked in his office through high school. I was like, I'm not going to have a cubicle job. I already did that. I'm not just going to call people all day. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not for me.
Right.
I want to be out in the world. He's like, it's not all that I do. And so I don't know. I don't know.
So your dad is crazy smart because he let you flounder and do your thing. And
he knew I had to find my own way. Like
because if he forced it on you, then you wouldn't.
There's no way. No, I wouldn't be as happy as I am.
Wouldn't be as happy. You'd hold it against them. But since he let you go through it, I love that.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I followed what felt good. We get to meet the coolest people and solve problems that are important and face the scary monsters with people. And it's just a combination of all the things that I wanted to do.
Yep.
And going back to feeling like a rock star, like truly whenever I solve a problem, like I feel like I rock, and I get to teach people things. And I also get to go through the fear and the ups and the downs with people too.
So it's pretty awesome. So he essentially talked to you about, hey, this is what I do. We talk to people. You've already discussed a little bit. There's such an emotional side to money, right? Yeah. And so your ability, because you're already thinking about being a therapist, right? What a great lead in to doing this, because people make decisions based upon facts that aren't really real, and you got to hang tight. What are you going to say, Tony? You're about ready to say something.
I was going to say the word facts doesn't even belong in that sentence.
You're right. You're right.
It's part art, part science, but a lot of it really is art.
Well, I mean, you look at people growing up, like even in my household, and I grew up in a household where my mom and dad started a business in the kitchen.
That's cool.
At the dining room table. Did they talk about money with me? No. Was I allowed to ask how much money my dad made?
No.
Not really any of your
business. You could ask, but you would never get
not any of your business.
None.
And so you grow up without knowing anything about money. Yeah. And so then you've got all this misinformation. I could tell you, this is inappropriate for young,
Can you make it clean?
Yeah, where do kids learn about how, where babies come from and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I didn't learn from my parents. I learned from my buddies.
And that's
I ran around with
not
in
a good
grade
way
school,
to learn.
And it was way wrong.
Yeah. There's so much misinformation. And that's why I thought like the financial industry was intentionally vague or like the language was intentionally hard to keep people out. And I'm not saying that that's not true because that's there too, but it's hard to approach something that you don't know about and you don't know what you don't know.
Or so touchy too.
Or so
like,
touchy.
It's
like,
taboo.
You can finish these. Everyone knows these things. They're cultural norms. Money is the root of all
evil.
Yeah. Money doesn't grow on
trees.
Like, what are some other ones? Like,
yeah.
I mean, there are so many that we just kind of absorb. Don't ask the neighbor how much their car costs. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Don't ask someone how much they make, but that doesn't serve really anyone.
But when you're like talking to your dad and you're making this decision, what were some of the aspects of that type of work or of the type of work that you do that you really resonated or drawn to? I personally think, you want to be a counselor.
Yeah.
It is the counselor was part of the helping people out.
Yeah. So to go back to yoga teacher training, and here's all I see why
it's
you
almost
always
like the
ask people
Zen
about their
of
past.
money.
So
We did this
are you a
exercise.
yogi?
Hey, boo-boo.
I do yoga. I practice. I'm a student. I would say I'm a student.
Well, and I don't even know what I was asking there, but
Because
I
of
liked
yogis.
yogis at IU. It's not there anymore. I miss it. The breadsticks were awesome. But yeah, that shows my epitome of health here.
But that's okay.
But yeah, along to following what feels good. But
So like if you name like 5 things of your job that you really
that yoga
like to
teacher
enjoy.
training had us write, they had a list of like 100 values basically. And we went and like she was like, okay, cross off 30 things. Now cross off 20 things. Now cross off 10. And we ultimately got 5 that were our key values.
Right.
And freedom was a huge one for me. It ended up being my number 1 value. So I was like,
so that position gives you freedom.
yes.
Awesome.
So and it puts me in a position to help other people find their freedom.
That's what I would. Oh, yeah. That's even better than I was like helping other people find their freedom is even better.
That's why
I was having a
do.
conversation with a high schooler the other day, and he's part of the Evans Scholar Caddy program. So these guys do, they caddy. They have to get 100 loops, and then they're in the running to get a free scholarship for the 4-year scholarship. So I was talking to him, and I'm going to get this a little wrong, but I said, hey, what's the number one attribute of financial independence? What's the most important part of calling yourself financially independent? So what would you say that was? And he was like, he thought it was a trick question. And it was. I said, you probably say money, right? Money, right? And he goes, well, yeah. I go, no, it's time, controlling your own time, the freedom to do what you want. So it's got to be higher. And I know it's for people who don't have money, probably might not agree with that because you always want to have the money. But
well, that's a multifaceted question. All of those things go together. So to go back to that binder from my childhood, there are different pillars, right? And for me, I think it's health. Physical fitness is a big part of freedom. Spiritual freedom, like being able to connect with whoever and wherever you want in the community that you're in. So social freedom too. And then financial freedom. I mean, all of those things. And here's my corny business thing that I'm always thinking about, but it's FLY. So financial planning, lifestyle planning, and yoga. Or you. What's your yoga? Like, why do you do what you do? How do you connect with something bigger than you? And you need all of those pieces to transcend and to soar eventually, to fly. So, but like birds, like you got to build the nest, and that takes practice or like takes all these tools and time and energy. And then once you have the nest, you fly off, and you have to flap your wings to get there, and there's energy that's involved in that. And then eventually you can soar, and you can see, and you're looking out, okay, where do I want to go? Where do I want to land? This feels really good. Then you have to come back down to earth because you got to resource. And then that process goes over and over again, and you're able to resource, and you know that these berries aren't as good as these berries, and sticks work better than dried grass and all this, but it's just you're constantly ebbing and flowing and finding.
So you just really love to help people find their freedom, which is one. That's a high value. Your own freedom. Yeah. Flexibility.
Yeah.
What are a couple more?
Social responsibility is a big deal to me. Making sure that the people around me feel welcome to be where they are and feel comfortable where they are is really important to me. And I don't know if what word goes with that, empowerment or...
Sure.
I try to be openness and curiosity and wonder is kind of the best summation of that. Like, how do I find something every day that surprises me or blows my mind? Like, that is my ideal living, where I can wake up and be like, what am I going to learn today? Like, what am I going to see today? What am I going to feel today? Who am I going to meet? Like, that's why I go out. Like, that's why I travel. That's why I want to be free, so that I can connect with people and learn something new and get my mind blown. Like,
exactly.
We were talking about studying abroad, and everywhere you look, it's like,
something
you
new.
can cook a duck, like,
different.
Or, people eat grasshoppers, like, like no means yes in ano in in the Czech Republic means yes. But yeah, you're constantly getting your mind blown, or like, oh, there's bullet holes in the wall. Why? And
yeah, I remember.
It's mind blowing, and like, oh, I get so much peace and freedom at my home, and I get to live.
It's very different, and something to be grateful for sure. And now you've got quite a few clients. You're working with them.
Yeah.
What are some of the the pearls of wisdom that you might be able to share from individuals that you worked with? Because one of the examples I always use is, guy calls me and says, "Hey, Brexit went on, sell all my stuff." And I was trying to talk him off the edge because the market was down 30%. I told him, just hold on. You got to work the plan. The plan is to hold on. And, a week later, he was back to above where he was, but he would have taken a huge hit. So what kind of pieces of wisdom, and do you actually help kids as well? Do you do any kind of training or talking to kids and families together? Can you give us a little few pieces like that? So
ultimately, I would love to have a quarterly retreat, basically, for anyone that, no matter what the age, just have different kind of hot topics or
so
retreat.
You would qualify.
Kind of a thing. Yeah, you could come.
I'd love to.
But
we'll be on site and do lots of podcasting and get
to answer your
lots of
original
insights.
Question. It's what I learned, observing. It's never too early to start learning something or investing or opening your mind. Saving, for sure. Key. It's in the 3.
Sell off 70. I call it the law, the rule of 72s. Yeah. The whole idea, the earlier you get started.
Yeah. It's never too early to start. It's never too late to start. No. It's never too late to ask questions. And what I am learning a lot right now is, whenever somebody calls me scared or calls me curious or calls me, it's usually for a purpose.
Sure.
And people really just want to be seen and heard, which isn't different from any other industry.
They want to be valued.
Yeah. And they want to know that they're taken care of. So how do I do that? I try to see and hear as much as I can. I don't know if that's a vague answer, but people usually have the answers that they need. They just need to be walked through it and heard as they
And
speak.
Part of it, you and I talked about early on the phone, what was last week, and we said, hey, there are all types of financial advisors that we need out there, because people are drawn or attracted to individuals sometimes that are just like them. Sometimes maybe are a little bit more assertive or otherwise. And having more women in the field is an absolutely great thing, because I saw it. One of my partners in Chicago, she was a female, and it was just great to see, because anybody can learn this. That's why we're doing it. And giving the confidence to the people we spoke to, it was just really fulfilling for me. Yeah. And having you kind of be a light for individuals coming to you, I think is just fantastic as well.
Thank you.
Being heard, being able to work with them, giving them the confidence.
If you can make money, you can learn how to use it. And you can learn how to save it. And everyone is worthy of knowing how to use the tools that they've gathered.
So do you have some other stories, like some stuff that you help people through with, like somebody came to you and, I don't know, they're crying and it was on this, or they didn't know what to do, and you helped them through it, or any kind of interesting stories that I always love to hear them, because some of them are just fascinating,
Sure.
What we used to talk about a lot, just to give you an understanding, is we had a considerable number of women that we actually were helping. And what would happen is, my partner was a divorce counselor, and it was from a financial perspective. And what I thought was very interesting about it is, they would split the house up, and they'd say, okay, who's going to get the house? And then the guy would normally say, she can have the house. But the problem was the cash flow to pay for the house wasn't there after the divorce. And so it set people up for a devastational failure. And so she was great at seeing those huge potholes in order to get it done. And it seems like, oh, yeah, I really want the house, but there's a lot of value that you can add to help people realize what's going on and make sure that that transition is a lot better. So those kinds of stories are both
stuff, even just like small
yes,
tax implications. Like it's like who gets the Roth account, who gets the after tax account, and who gets the the pre-tax account. Like that stuff matters. And
because I remember them arguing about it. I want the $1 million taxable IRA, and the other one was $850,000 Roth. And we're trying to explain to them, well, we got to look at this thing because it could be a huge difference depending on what's going on. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I work with my dad, and that I started thinking I started out solo with my company because they have a great training program, and the idea was that my dad would be one trainer and mentor of many. And he still is. I still have many mentors, but I'm with him a lot more because of a situation that brought us into more teamwork. And I can't believe I ever resisted this, but of course I had to do it my own way. But seeing him advocate for having multiple heads at the table has been such a valuable lesson. So having the CPA, having the estate planning attorney, having the wife and the husband there, and getting the kids involved, and having you talked about this on that podcast of the education that you're teaching your kids how to invest in, and having them be roped in with a conversation with a financial advisor early.
The dollar brick.
Wow, look at all that money.
Seeing my dad bring in, sorry about that, seeing him rope in many people and the satisfaction and peace of mind that comes from somebody seeing that there's so many people in their court to solve their problem, lets them focus on the emotional thing that they're dealing with, and takes the structural problem, the weight of that off their shoulders, because they don't need to worry about it.
I read a lot of books about the tax implications are very huge that nobody thinks about. So if you sometimes have a financial advisor who doesn't understand or bring in the tax component, it could be a real issue. And we've had situations end of year where we're trying to do the taxes and we find out, oh my God, they did this other thing with this other individual that it screws up our whole plan.
If you don't know, ask. And there is no shame in the game of asking somebody that's smarter than you to help you with
shame
something.
Is losing money, because you will lose money. Ask the question. There's no shame in it, absolutely. And it could be very, very costly if you don't, for sure. So you know, one of the things that I found out, which we've kind of already touched on, but I'm going to hit again, is it's the emotional side. You know, as a financial advisor, it seemed like it was, I don't know the right percentage, 70% counselor, 20%, investor, 10% tax person. But the bigger portion was actually just dealing with people and trying to get them,
I'm speaking from personal experience too. I'm not immune to this. Whenever I approach my money, I always have to keep the emotional robot on this side talking to the logical one on this side, and I just have to kind of rebalance
reference right
rebalance the
we
party.
did this one already. I'm on it. What was my
that
nickname?
movie Animal House was created before you were born, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, what'd you say my nickname was? The guy with the propeller top?
Flounder?
Yeah, you said Flounder. I was like, who's Flounder?
Get you a hat for next time.
I don't think that. No.
That's not a good reference, I know. But we were just talking about it. But you're right. From a financial perspective, trying to get people comfortable is a big part of your job, and the educational side. And we're trying to help out with that.
It's the most rewarding side. Yeah, for sure. Which is why I talk about it so much.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because you were talking about freshmen, you go and act like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And people sometimes get money and then they think they're supposed to act like they're supposed to know, so they don't ask for the help like you were talking about. And we talked in another episode about angel investing.
Right.
And we only let accredited investors invest. And what's that? Well, accredited investor is somebody who has makes
so much money,
more than $200,000 a year, has $1 million net worth. So that's what it takes. And the assumption is if you have that much money, you know what you're doing. And so if you lose the money, it's on you. It's not. And so then that kind of translates into lottery winners. Like how many lottery winners end up broke years later because they got all this money and they don't know to ask. They're like, oh, I have money now. I must be smart about money. And so I don't need to ask for help. And asking for help, being big into golf, Tiger Woods, like he has a coach, he has coaches, he has people helping. You'd think that, one of the best golfers on the planet, Phil Mickelson.
Olympics, all the Olympics athletes.
The smartest people have teams behind them.
So it's
because it's more heads thinking about one problem.
Right.
Exactly. So that translates right. The money is like the big thing. Everybody, not everybody is a great golfer or a great swimmer or whatever, but everybody's got to deal with money.
It's just a tool.
And it does cost money to get financial advice, and I get it. And you want to be careful about how much you pay because there are different pay setups and schedules and stuff. Yeah. But you could be losing significantly more money if you don't have the help. And so always evaluate that situation because there's stuff out there to know.
There's so many tools at so many levels, and you really have to figure out what makes you comfortable.
But back to being comfortable is like being comfortable. Hey, you don't need to know what are your fears? What do we got to deal with here? The emotional side, so that because we don't want that always being in the front and center is covering up the emotional piece because you fix that. Like you said, like even doing the yoga training, like you come back and you're like very clear on certain things that you just didn't have before that.
Yeah. And the monster in the closet, I think that's a great analogy too, because, there's a lot of stuff that you just don't need to know. I mean, you and I were talking about, I've got all these credentials and stuff, but 90% of that, most people don't ever need to know. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter it doesn't matter where you got the tool or if the tool is DeWalt or what's another tool brand.
Ryobi.
It doesn't matter if it does a job. Like people don't buy 9-inch nails. They buy or they don't buy some length of drill. They buy the hole in the wall. Like it doesn't matter what the drill is. Like what matters is can it
go in the wall?
Put the hole in the wall.
I was trying to figure out where she was going with that.
I thought we were going to go to Tommy Boy and the whole state thing. That's different. Can't go there either.
Yeah.
But
1/4-inch drill bits, they buy the 1/4-inch hole or something like that. It's like, what are we doing here? What's actually getting done? Not how are we doing or who's doing it. It's how do I feel about it.
So your line to get to where you are today, helping individuals with your financial advising, was not a straight path.
No.
And you're glad that you took the time. You had to take the yogi or the yoga and think about it. But it sounds like you're on the right track and you're enjoying doing it with your father, it sounds like. And you're enjoying it and you're using some of those interpersonal skills.
Yeah. It's okay to not know. If I could give anybody any lesson, especially people younger than me, it's like you don't have to have it all figured out right now.
You don't.
You
just
really
get started though, you know?
No one really knows. Just
try to stay away from the bad debt. We'll reiterate it. The emergency fund, get it put together. And rule number 1, in my opinion, is spend less than you make.
1,000%. You can't do anything else before you do those things.
So you had the yoga training. What's next? What's queued up for when there's time? What kind of stuff are you gonna do? Non-financial. Kind of, what you want to do make you feel better.
Because you got like less than 2 minutes to put that out there.
Let me consult my heart real quick.
She needs her vision board. Where's my vision board?
Yeah, I actually was able to buy a condo over over COVID and by not spending more than I made and taking the time to save and
because rent versus owning now is pretty interesting.
My mortgage is cheaper than what renting in the area that I am in was. And
so is it high enough that you can base jump or something crazy?
Oh my gosh. No, it's actually finding a headboard or like making my home comfortable. I've moved around for the past 8 years from college and then from my jobs and stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to lean into learning to be comfortable. So
awesome.
That's kind of what I'm on my path. It doesn't sound glamorous, but
Hey, it's what you came up with right now. And
that's what I want.
That's excellent. So thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. And hopefully, maybe in the future, we'll start asking people back and how things have changed since we had
talk to Julie. Talk to Julie.
We may have to do that.
Playlist.
Okay. We may have to do that. So
we can do a music-centric deal here.
Yeah.
We might have to.
We have to tie in the money somehow. How much do you pay for Spotify? No.
Yeah.
How's the money management work with music?
That would be an interesting conversation.
That would be. So I know a little bit about that. We'll have to talk about that on a different podcast. But thanks for being here.
Rock star harmonica player?
I actually played the Bluebird down in Nashville, Tennessee, which is #1 singer-songwriter country
credentials.
On that note, we'll say goodbye.
Anytime he starts talking about it, I'm just going to credentials.
Credentials. Okay. So thanks for being here. And we'll talk to you really soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Cheers.